Welcome to the Zandbergen Report, where wealth strategies and pop culture collide, featuring your distinguished host and certified financial planner, Bart Zandbergen.
Welcome to our show of Dream Chasers and Wealth Makers. We are thrilled to be back in the studio today with a new episode of the Zandbergen Report. I'm proud to bring in the movers, shakers, and difference makers who are passionate about sharing what they have learned and what you need to know today. And today we're going to have a little bit of fun. We'll cover some business, but mostly fun, because we're talking about cookies. And my special guest today is Elise Thomas from the Cookie Company. Elise, thanks. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited that you're here, and we're excited to have this box of beautiful cookies that we're going to talk about here in a minute. You have a cookie company.
Yes, I do.
So tell me about that. How did your life evolve to you running a cookie company?
It's a good question. It's a great story. I've always loved to bake, I will say, since I was a little girl. I always loved to bake, and I've always liked to do my own business. Like if I think back on my life, even at like age 14, I started a swim school out of my parents' backyard and was an entrepreneur. And my parents said, you got to get a summer job. You got to, save money. And so I took around flyers to my neighborhood, and I made really good money doing swim lessons in my backyard because I was a swimmer and I was lifeguard certified. So I used that tool throughout high school and in college, teaching swim lessons, and kind of started my own business that way. And then throughout college, I worked in the food industry, but I always have loved to bake, self-taught. And my mom even saw that as a young child, and she started like a little cookie, not cookie, but just like a little chef school for my friends and I. And it was called Fifi's Cooking School. And she would invite over my friends once a month and teach us new recipes. I was probably about 9 when that started. And made us little aprons and had little chef hats, and it was really fun, and I loved it. I've always loved to be in the kitchen. That's kind of my happy place. And I never really foresaw that to be a career because I didn't know how I would make money that way, Right. So then, I went to college. I got a sociology degree. I really wanted to be a social worker. I love people. I love doing things for other people. And then I got married and I got pregnant after I finished, and my husband was still in school, and I would bake a lot of cookies while I was pregnant at home, typical housewife things. And it's kind of just reminded me of how much I love that. But I still didn't really have a business. It was more just for fun and to give to other people. My mom would always bake when I was a child, and she still loves to bake. And so we would make cookies, and she would always give them to people. It was like a thing to do to be kind. If you knew someone was going through a hard time, or even just for people that are going through good times. So that has always resonated with me. And throughout college, throughout being a young mom, I would always bake cookies for people. For one, because I love cookies. They're my favorite dessert, but also just as a way to show love. And after I had my daughter, I started another business. I did eyelash extensions from home, and I did that while my kids were small and was very successful at it. And it got to the point where I was doing them nonstop. And that I realized I came to a point where I'm like, this is not my passion. I did it kind of for extra money while my husband was working. It's just something to do. But kind of like thought, okay, this is not my passion in life, doing eyelashes. It's okay. It's fun. I like talking to women and that aspect, but it's not something that I foresaw in my life. So I did that for about 7 years, and I was still, baking from home. And then I kind of had this moment in my life where I kind of had like a little breakdown. I was a mom of 3 young children, and I was kind of like, what am I doing with my life? And I kind of was thinking, what makes me happy? And that's when I realized that the thing that brings me joy and happiness is baking and making cookies. And something that I had always wanted to do was have a bakery. It was kind of this dream that I always put aside because I never knew how I'd make it possible. So that's when I brought it up to my husband and said, hey, what do you think about making a cookie shop if I had a cookie shop? And he was always very, very supportive, which is great from the beginning, and just kind of like, if you want to do that, I think you could do that. You have amazing recipes that I have just had perfected over the years. And cookies had kind of started to become a new thing where cookie shops were popping up. And my friends would try these cookie places and they'd always like, your cookie's so much better. Like, so much better. You need to open a shop. I was really encouraged by a lot of people. So that kind of really helped me get the idea going, like, yeah, I think I could do this, because I would get asked from people to make cookies for things, company things, and I'd make like 300 cookies. And also my daughter, I was trying to help her. She wanted to buy a scooter, and it's like $200. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to raise that money because it's not Christmas, not your birthday. Like, you want to do it, you want to work. I was taught to work as, a child and worked all my life. So I was like, you're going to have to raise that money. So she was like, well, what if I sell cookies? So I said, okay, so I'll make them. We'll do it together, and I'll let you keep the profit, and that can go towards a scooter. And she just, went around our neighborhood and she made $200 like in a day. So I'm like, and everyone's like, when is she going to sell your cookies again? I love them. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really do think I could turn this into a business. And so that was kind of where the beginning started, I guess.
Okay. All right. So over my experience, people have passions, people have things that they really think, whether it's restaurant, I love to cook, I love to sew, I love to bake. And many times it doesn't equate to the ability to make money, right? It's something
Definitely
they do. So I know that you picked the great timing of opening during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so that was definitely unplanned. Just like our COVID baby, unplanned. So we started looking for locations. I knew that I wanted to open it in my hometown, Redlands, California, just because Redlands is a unique place where people love to support local businesses. It's one of those, it's like the best kept secret, I feel like Redlands is. It's one of those places where it has everything you need, like big city-wise, but it feels like a small town.
Yep.
Everyone supports each other. So I knew that's where I wanted to start my business. And so we started looking for locations in early 2019. In the summer, found a great spot where our first shop is right now. And honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. No idea what I was doing, because I had never done something like this. And in my mind, I thought it was going to be kind of just like one of those small town bakeries where I would be the main baker and do all the cooking and stuff, and then have just like maybe my mom come help me. Like, I had no idea that it was going to blow up into something way more.
Yeah.
So we found a spot. We signed our lease in November of 2019 and got things going. Luckily my husband was able to kind of help, help me find, people to do all the building and stuff. We took a commercial building and we made it into a bakery, which is actually a lot harder than you'd think. And we learned a lesson there not to do that. So we're like, now we know not to do that again. So we learned a lot. And then, come January, February, all of a sudden shut down. And we're just like, oh my gosh, we have put all our money, all our savings and everything into building this bakery, and we don't even know if we're going to be able to open our doors. Just like most of the world was just, so scared, not knowing what was going on. So that's when, we're kind of just like, well, we'll just keep going. We don't really have a choice at this point. We've already signed this lease, and I was going to have to start paying on it in the next couple months. So we just kept going, try to do what we could. My husband started going down and helping. Our contractor lost all of his employees because a lot of them went on unemployment or, whatever. So my husband also lost his job during this time period because of the pandemic. So then we're also like, oh my gosh, we have no income coming in and we're opening a business. But, I just had, at this point, we're like, it has to work. We don't have any other options, So he's down there working and doing what he can. And we just continue to move forward and just, pray and put everything into it that we can. And then I found out I was pregnant, actually kind of had a surprise COVID baby walking statistic of that, of course. And so that kind of threw us for a loop. Just my husband, it was funny when I told him, I took like 7 pregnancy tests because I thought it wasn't true. So I was like, what the heck? I showed a picture to my sister and I was like, there's this really faint line. Like I text her first. I didn't even tell my husband, Matt. And I'm like, do you think that really means yes? Or do you think that could possibly be a no? And she's like, that's a yes. And what the heck? And so I waited like a few days because I was in shock and then told him, and he like knew. I was like, guess what? He's like, you're pregnant. He's like, I'm like, how'd you know? He's like, just thought about what
else could happen?
What else could happen right now, But, it was hard, but it was fine. And we got through it. And that's when I actually started baking from home and selling my cookies because I thought, okay, our shop is going to open who knows when, because we kept having these pushbacks from the city, from the health department. Everything was taking way longer than we thought. So I just started baking from home, and I started with just with 0 followers on Instagram, and just kind of put it out there like, hey, I'm making these cookie boxes. I have a shop coming. If you'd like to order for whatever. And I kind of started around January, February, but then it started picking up. And slowly, people started following my Cookie Co. Instagram, and all of a sudden, I went from baking like maybe, probably 10 boxes. It was like box of 4, same as this, to all of a sudden selling like 300 boxes a week from my little kitchen at home where I'd have to bake 8 cookies at a time. And I would bake from, my kids were doing online learning. So that was difficult too. My older 3 kids, online learning. So I would teach them during the day, morning till 2 or whatever when they had to finish, and then I would bake from 2 until evening. Sometimes, depending on our orders, like how many we had, I had to start doing it where I had to say, okay, Monday is sold out, Tuesday is sold out, and then it became like this lottery thing where people would wait as soon as I posted what cookies were going to be, and I'd sell, like, I made a certain amount because I couldn't do it physically. I'm pregnant and I'm cooking until 5 a.m. and also haven't told anyone I'm pregnant, So I'm like, I can't do it physically anymore. So I would put a limit and we would sell out in seconds.
A way to build anticipation.
Yeah, it definitely gave me hope. I'm like, okay, I think we'll be okay. We can do this. And then we opened our storefront in August.
Did I hear you had a house fire during that time too?
So we had a house fire, yes. That was actually...
Guess what?
Later. Yeah. That was a little bit later once our shop was open and my husband was out of town, and we had finally... We had bought a house before all of this, before a pandemic, all that stuff. And it wasn't renovated. So the first thing I told my husband I wanted to do... I'm like, when the shop is open, and like my first like reward is going to be to redo this kitchen because I hated the kitchen. It was very, very outdated. And the guest bathroom. So we finally had saved up enough money to do that. We just finished our kitchen. I hadn't even baked in it yet or done anything in it yet because it was still being renovated. The bathroom, something happened. We still don't know, like, if it was the electrician's fault or they kind of said, I think whoever went through the attic, the investigator, that it was probably bound to happen. It seems like the person that lived there before us kind of tried to fix something themselves, you know. And we had an attic fire in the middle of the night. It's like 2 a.m. and I was like 8 months pregnant. And I woke up to smoke, and I had turned off, I turned on the light in my bathroom because I have a son that gets scared of the dark, and he would go to the bathroom. He goes to the bathroom every single night. So I always leave the light on, but our other bathroom was getting fixed. So I left my bathroom light on in my room just in case, because my husband was out of town starting our franchise stuff. So he was meeting with attorneys in Utah, and all of a sudden I smelled smoke, and I'm like, that's so weird. And I was pregnant. I did not want to get out of bed. So I kind of just laid there for a second, lazy, like, what? No, that couldn't be, thinking to myself, there's no way. And then I noticed that the light was off, and I'm like, did one of my kids get up? And I got up and I tried the switch, and it wasn't working. And then I heard a crackling. So looking around the house, and my kids were still asleep. And then I looked up in that bathroom, and I saw a ring of fire. And at first I was kind of like, what is that? Because all the lights were off. I'm like, could that be? And then I called my husband at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'm like, I think we might have a house fire. And, and then I literally hung up. I so mean, because he's like freaking out at that point, like gets woken up. Like I was like, oh yeah, no, we really do. I hung up and called 911 immediately. Was able to get my kids out safely, thank goodness, and our dog and all that. But yeah, 8 months pregnant, my husband sees a video of me carrying out my children, outside. And thankfully, our firefighters in a small little city were able to come super fast and were able to help us. So we were relocated for 5 months while that was getting fixed, which was not fun. But you know what? It's fine. We're safe, and it's all part of the journey, right?
That's right.
All part of the journey.
That which doesn't kill you.
Yes, exactly. Definitely makes you stronger.
All right. I'm actually still kind of intrigued on something. I love to bake. I'm going to rent a shop. Did you ever even do back of the napkin, if I do this number of cookies and I can sell them for this much? Did you do any math that you would make money on this?
Yes, definitely. Okay. Yes, I'm definitely about the numbers too.
Okay.
So when I did my eyelash business, and I think I get this from my dad because he's definitely all about the numbers. I said, okay, the cost for this is this much, How am I going to make money off of this? Sat down with my dad when I was about to start my eyelash business, I can really make good money because the product is really cheap. So it's mostly time that you're doing. So also with cookies, we sat down, and even with the fact that we use good quality product and use butter and eggs and all these things, and we don't cut corners, we still are able to make a good profit. Now, costs have gone up significantly. Right. Butter has gone up 50%. 50%, yeah. Started at $2 a pound for us, and now we're up to $4 a pound. So it's doubled. But we're still able to make a good margin. I think we're about 25% margin right now.
Okay. So when you first got started,
we first got started.
How many cookies did you figure I have to sell this many cookies to keep the lights on? How many?
So we figured probably probably 200 a day, maybe 100 to 200 a day. I was thinking.
Okay.
And on average, we probably do about 1,000
a day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, so.
All right. So it looks like you're taking the business to the next level, which is franchising.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been in business 2 years. Now you're looking at franchising. Do you know anything about franchising?
We absolutely knew nothing about franchising when we started. We know that there are franchises. No, we actually were approached when we, probably 6 months after we were open, by quite a few people, just because people really liked our cookies. They loved kind of the concept and the business. And so we had been approached by a few people about it. And it was something that I really had to think long and hard about because this is like my baby. And I told my husband, I'm like, I do not want to sacrifice, quality ever. So handing that off to someone, like I'm super controlling when it comes to things. Like I'm like, my cookies have to be perfect because that has my name on it. Mm-hmm. And so I want to make sure that it always looks good. So that was something that I really had to think long and hard about. So we had kind of thought, okay, we could do like partnerships because we had a few people that were interested in maybe opening up some other shops, with us or franchising. And it came down to finally thinking about it that, this has been a great opportunity for my family and I. And I think it's great to help other entrepreneurs and people that have always wanted to own a business and start a business, be able to do that as well. Because we are really focused on, and something that we really try is like, we don't want to be, like where big groups come in and like do franchises, and they're not invested. Right. We really like to invest in the community. We've been able to give back a lot in Redlands, and we want that for each of our cookie co's. So we want someone that's invested in their community, somewhere where they live, to open up that cookie shop and to be really invested in their community. And so we have a lot of people. This is like first time business, just like we were like storefront. And we're excited to let them do that and to help them bless their community and their lives.
How many, do you have any franchises yet? Or you?
Yeah, we do. We have franchises and so we have about 50 that are in our pool right now that are like either have signed documents and paid their like franchising fees, also looking for an area, right. A location, which is a long process because we want it to be a good location. Right. And then we have one open in Texas right now, Georgetown. Then we have a partnership in Riverside, and we have quite a few opening actually in the next month. Yeah. Probably about 6.
Okay.
So it's busy.
That is a very fast
It's very
pace.
Busy. Yeah.
I've worked with companies that have franchises, and that's
really
fast.
It's very busy. It's busy, but it's good. We are hiring people and promoting people within, which is awesome. It's been great.
What a journey.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the cookies. You mentioned a couple of times butter, egg. So is that something that makes you different than other cookie companies?
I mean, I can't speak for them personally. I only know what I've seen online. And honestly, I try to stay out of that. I don't look at any other cookie shops, Instagrams, websites, pages, nothing. Because for one, I like to have my own inspiration. I don't need other people to inspire me on what to make. But all I know is that we will stay true to never cutting corners, even if it costs more, which means like we'll always use butter instead of oil. A lot of people use oil because it's a lot cheaper. We won't use beet sugar. We use real cane sugar. We won't use the liquid eggs. We crack our eggs every morning, like for our cookies, and we use good ingredients. And I think you can taste the difference. So that's what I always tell people. I'm like, just come try them and you'll see. My thing is I want it to be a homemade cookie, and that is one of the reasons why I wanted to open up my shop and kind of was like my goal when I was going to open, when people would say, well, why do you think this will be successful? Or why do you think that it's going to work? And my thing was, we live in a world now where both partners in a household usually have to work. It's rare that they don't. And because of that, we don't have the time to bake. We don't have the time to do all these extra things, but we still have these things to go to. We still have baby showers, and we still have kids that are getting married. We still have friends that are, graduating, or all these things. And throughout my life, I would give baked goods to people that were doing different things or bring them to baby showers, birthday parties, whatever. And we're able to take that off their hands and allow them to bring homemade cookies, wherever they need to go, and take that kind of that stressor off,
right,
and give them a delicious homemade cookie that they can bring to all their things.
right.
So,
Excellent.
yeah.
How do you feel that discipline has played a role for you in your journey?
I would say played a really big role because
That's what I'm sensing.
it's very hard work, I think from a young age, my parents really instilled hard work. They both came from where they had to pay their own way to go in college and get degrees. And, my dad was in the military. And so I always had to have a job, make my own money, do these things. My parents helped, but I appreciate the fact that they always made us work. And so I'm not one to be shy of that, and I'm fine with that. I love discipline. I love working. And when we opened the shop, we were working, when we opened our doors on the first grand opening day, I was expecting, I don't actually know what I was expecting. I was hoping that we would have at least some people show up, and buy our cookies. But we were overwhelmed with the fact that we had a line around the corner. Our first day open. And I was like, oh my gosh. Second day, same thing all week. And for about a month, we had a line. And I, pregnant in the warehouse, crying to my husband, like, how are we going to do this? Like, here I thought I was going to need no employees and this was going to be just my thing. And at the time, my husband wasn't even going to be a part of this. He was starting to think about maybe getting his real estate license because it was something that he had always thought about doing. And then that first day, I literally was like, sorry, you're full-time Cookie Co. Like, this is your job now. And it's been so fun to work with him. So I'm grateful for that. I feel like things work out for a reason, So I'm really grateful for that because he is very business-minded and has a business degree and marketing degree. So he is great in aspects that I don't know as well. So we're a good team. But, it was something that I wasn't expecting. And so we really had to be disciplined in the fact that, I would drop off my kids at this Christian school that was doing online learning from there. And I would drop them off at 8 so they could do their online distance learning because they still weren't in school. And my mom would pick them up. Thank goodness I have parents close. I would work from 8 until almost 8 o'clock at night until I had my son.
Yeah.
And because we just had to be boots on the ground and we had to learn a lot, a lot of the stuff you just have to learn firsthand while you're opening a business and not really knowing everything and still learning. And I was still doing the majority of the baking by myself. So so we learned a lot. And I always tell my employees, I'm like, I'm not going to ask you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. Like, we have this checklist, bathrooms. If I go in the bathroom and it's dirty, I will go in there and I will clean that bathroom because, if people go in, I want them to see a clean bathroom. So I'm, one to get on the ground and scrub the walls. I will do that, even though I'm the owner. Like, that's important to me. Mm-hmm. So hard work is important and,
It's great. And on top of all this, is it true you're training for a marathon, Boston Marathon?
So I just ran the Boston Marathon in April. You can apply again in September, which I already qualified for. So fingers crossed I can run it again next April.
Yeah.
So I am training for a marathon that's coming up in November. Haven't really started training. I'll start next month. Kind of taking a little bit of a break since I just ran the Boston Marathon in April. But I love to run. It's kind of like my me time, my meditation time.
Yeah. Was that a goal of yours or a long-time goal of running the Boston Marathon or any marathon?
Yes. It was a lifetime. Well, I wouldn't say lifetime. I was a swimmer. Like I said, I kind of did swim school out of my parents' backyard. But after I had my daughter, I kind of got into running as a way to get back into shape. And my dad ran marathons, and he had asked me to do a half marathon with him. And I thought, oh, that sounds horrible. I like that. Nothing sounds worse to me. Yeah. But I thought it would be a good goal to kind of get my baby weight off and kind of something that I could do with my dad. So I said yes, not knowing what I was getting myself into, and kind of just did a training. And then at the end of the half marathon, I was like, oh my gosh, I really liked that. And so that kind of started my running journey. And then after I had my son Riker, who's 5 now, that's when I switched from half marathons to full marathons, which is a whole different ball game.
Sure.
And once I ran my first full marathon, I remember thinking, I don't think I'll ever do that again. Bucket list, But then it's just like one of those things, like, having a baby where you forget, like you forget the pain. Like that's God's way of making women still have children, because like while you're in labor, you're like, I'm never doing this again. And it's like, oh, here I am, have 4 now. It's like, okay, I did it, and then I'm like, okay, when's the next one I can sign up for, like a week after, So then, of course, it's basically any runner's dream to run the Boston Marathon. It's an amazing experience. You're there with qualified runners that are from all over the world.
Right.
And so it's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of experience. And it was a great experience this year to go, because it was on the anniversary of the 50th year that women were allowed to run marathons.
Okay.
So it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, that is cool. All right, we are really running out of time, but there's 2 things left we have to do.
Okay.
First one is I have to ask you the final thought question, which is, what is your ultimate lesson learned?
Uh-huh.
And then just so you know, while you're thinking about that, the last thing we're going to do is open this box.
All right.
And everyone in the room is going to have some cookie. All right.
All right, let's go.
Your ultimate lesson learned in your journey.
Okay, so my ultimate lesson learned is, I guess cliche, like don't give up. I think starting a business kind of is like a marathon, and like I had no idea what I was doing. Kind of like my first marathon, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I did not feel properly, and I totally died like mile 16.
Yeah.
And I called my husband and I was like, I've hit a wall. I will not make it. And I had, 10 more miles to go or whatever. Yeah. And I was able to push through and make it to the finish line, and actually a pretty good time. And it was horrible, but I learned from that.
Right.
I learned that, okay, I cannot not eat during a marathon. Like I waited way too long to eat. And that's kind of like our business. We've learned a lot, and we've grown a lot, and we've learned to pivot. It wasn't our goal to start a business during the pandemic. But unfortunately that just happened. Right. I didn't know I was going to have a house fire, and I actually got bit by a dog like 3 months later, that like while I was outside, trying to get back into shape for my other baby, and got like out of nowhere thinking, okay, things are going good. We were in this rental while our house was getting fixed, and then boom, I got attacked by a dog. And I'm like, one more thing. Well, you know what? Whatever. Like, it's fine. It's life. And so I would say, like, just to learn to pivot in life, and to just continue to keep going. Keep your head up and be happy.
Well, you are definitely getting a gold star for perseverance. Well, it's time. We've got guests in the...
Well, we hope it's okay.
We have guests in the room. We're being shy, but I'll bet you... Oh, this is a tough decision. So why don't you explain what we have
so we
here?
have chocolate chip. That is one that we have every week. And then we have 3 other ones that rotate. So this week we have French toast, we have Parent Trap, and we have Magic Cookie. So the French toast is like our snickerdoodle cookie with homemade maple frosting. And it has like a breadcrumb topping and maple syrup. And then the Parent Trap, if you like peanut butter, Parent Trap is
that
the
this
way
one?
to go. Yeah.
Oh, I
So
do.
the Parent Trap
Okay.
is kind of like if you ever watched the movie The Parent Trap, I don't know, or maybe your kids did
Yeah.
with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
Okay, so she dips her Oreos in peanut butter. So this is kind of like our spin on that.
Okay.
Peanut butter cookie, Oreos inside, peanut butter chips, chocolate drizzle, and Oreos, crushed Oreos on top. It's really good. And then our magic cookie is like our spin on the, 7-layer bar, magic cookie bar, graham cracker base.
Well, I'm going to take a page out of your
Okay.
marathon training, which is make sure you're fueled and not hungry.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm going for the peanut butter.
Yes. You will not be disappointed in the peanut butter.
Oh my gosh.
I was not kidding.
Right?
I cut you little piece.
I'm excited for you to try the
When
French toast.
Riverside opened, I drove out to buy a box. I ate 2 of them on the way home.
On the way home?
By the way, and then the other 2.
I love it. That's why I always tell people when they come in, you buy one individual for yourself. So when you get home, you still have the box of 4, and your family won't know you ate one.
That's a good idea. That is so good.
Really good.
I don't even know what to say.
Oh my God. I have to stop.
Don't stop, you're fine.
So you sell them in individual or box of 4?
Yes, individual. You can get as many or as little as you want. We also do big catering orders. We also make mini ones for, you have to buy in advance.
Like
you know.
the kids' birthday party.
Yeah, for like birthdays or whatever.
Do you
They're
ship?
about a third of the size. We don't ship yet, but we're in the process. We're in the process of our website and our app and shipping. That's kind of all going to be encompassing, and we've been working on that for a long time. And it's soon enough. It will happen.
Crack me up. You're like the just in time. Like, let me just open the doors.
Right.
Line around. I'm gonna have 50 franchise opportunities.
Yeah, we
It's
just
crazy.
go all in. What can I say?
All right. Well, Elise, thank you for taking the time. I'm sure you have lots of baking or running or something that you would probably rather be doing, but thanks for
Well,
taking the
it's been
time
fun.
and sharing
Thank you so
your
much
journey.
for letting me come.
Of course. How can people reach you? What are your handles and
Okay,
website and
so
all that?
our Instagram, which we have actually on our box, is at the official Cookie Co., which we do have a what's that other social media platform I can't think of? TikTok? Yeah. Can't keep up with the kids these days. That as well. And then our website, cookieco.com. It's under construction, but you can still go on it and, see
Okay.
whatnot. But yeah, look us up.
I highly encourage everyone to go check it out. All right. Thanks for everyone who has tuned in. We look forward to being back in studio next week. Cheers.
Bye.
Tune in next week for the latest edition of the Zandbergen Report, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Catch up on our recent shows by visiting podcast.bartzandbergen.com. The Zandbergen Report is also available on iTunes, iHeartRadio and Spotify. Interested in being a featured guest on our show or have a question you'd like to hear us answer? Email podcast@bartzandbergen.com. The contents of this podcast episode do not constitute an offer of securities or a solicitation of an offer to buy securities and may not be relied upon in making an investment decision related to any investment offering Access Wealth Management LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Access does not warrant the accuracy or completeness of the information contained herein. Opinions are our current opinions and are subject to change without notice. Prices, quotes, rates are subject to change without notice. Generally, investments are not FDIC insured, not bank guaranteed, and may lose value.